Hello, Evy. Thank you so much for being with me today. I wanted to say before we start that I really appreciate that you're here with me. This would have never happened if you didn't make yourself available because I would have just procrastinated forever. But having a friend to kick these goals off is going to be great. And you have been one of my greatest supporters for the past few years of my career. And past few years, it's probably 10 right now.
I think
When
so.
I met you, you were a CMO at a startup in San Francisco. Then you left that job to follow your passion for strength training and fitness and started your own independent practice. Then you met scientist Ariel Paul and founded with him Apex School Labs. Do you mind telling us a bit about what is it that you do today?
Yeah. Today, I am the co-founder and CEO of Apex Cool Labs. We make a palm cooling device, which is used by athletes at all levels, as well as industrial and tactical athletes to improve performance in training, in competition, and on the job. It's a sort of odd technique that a lot of people haven't heard about, but highly effective. By cooling the palms of your hands, you can actually very effectively cool your blood. And that has a whole host of benefits for athletic performance. And so we're working on getting this technique and our device, the narwhals, out into the world.
Amazing. And so far, what would you say is your greatest achievement at Apex School Labs, or what is the thing that makes you most proud?
The thing that makes me the most proud is all of the feedback we get from customers who say something to the effect of, I love the narwhals. I can't train without them. We're bought in. Our athletes love them. Some form of that, which we often hear. We hear every week, we hear a story from someone who has been using the narwhals in their training or in their competitions. And it's just every time I hear one, I feel as giddy as the first time I heard it. It is really, really powerful to make something and put something out into the world that people love to use. So I think that's by far the most exciting accomplishment. And it's cool because it just keeps happening over and over again. And I have to say, like, it kind of like, I don't know, warms your heart every time you hear it and gives you that energy to like keep going and keep building.
Yes. And we're sharing the giddiness because we're working together at Epic School Up. And yeah, it makes me all warm and fuzzy every time I hear a new testimonial coming in or, seeing the narwhals on the sidelines of NBA games. So yeah, that is amazing.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's so many amazing milestones, if you will. Seeing the product on national TV for the first time, I nearly like jumped off the couch. And it was actually during the Stanley Cup playoffs a few years ago, 2023, and they panned to the locker room in the period breaks, and all of a sudden there are star players from the Edmonton Oilers holding our prototype that we were selling at first. And it was just wild, to know we knew they were using it, but to see it was next level. And then, yeah, it just keeps happening that there's a clip from the side of a D1 basketball game, or somebody, will tag us and be like, hey, I like saw you in the dugout of this MLB team or whatever. So it's cool to see the product get out there and be incorporated into these settings, these really elite settings.
Yeah, please allow me to brag a little bit more. You also have been nominated one of the most innovative invention of 2025 by the Times. Is that what the title is?
Yeah, so Times every year puts together their list of
Yeah.
the best inventions of the year.
Oh,
And
yeah.
there's a number of categories, one of which is sort of fitness. And we are one of a handful of products selected as the best invention. So really shout out to Ariel for
Yes.
inventing
And
the
scientists.
narwhals in the first place. The product has gotten a lot of recognition, either like this Times piece, for example. We've won awards from the National Safety Council, which is a really big organization here that is looking after worker safety in the United States. It's been really cool to see the product recognized. We are actually just recently a finalist, one of 10 finalists for the coolest thing made in Colorado.
Oh, right. How did that go?
That was awesome. I mean, I believe they had hundreds of submissions that they selected 10 from. We were one of 10. And the competition is steep. There are people in there who are creating new ways to grow food in places that are inhospitable. There's satellite companies. There were companies that are literally developing treatments for cancer. So the competition was very, very steep, and we were just very honored to be one of 10 and
Yes.
one of the 10 coolest things. And perhaps literally the coolest product because we cool people down. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yes, yes, 100%. I did vote every day for that initiative.
thank
I
you.
hope I hope
Thank
I
you.
was able to make a difference.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm curious to hear have you recently hit like big milestones in your business, or are there any big milestones on the horizon? I know
Mhm.
we can mention that you relatively recently launched a new version of your product, which you initially sold as a prototype, and then
Yeah.
you worked.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's like it's hard to believe that it's been less than a year since that happened. So the way that Apex School Labs got started, Ariel, my co-founder, invented a device, and actually, even before he invented this prototype that we originally sold, he had created this original prototype, if you will, that we never sold. And I got a chance to use it early on, was able to incorporate that into my training and make some really incredible gains. So in 8 weeks, I went from 7 to 14 pull-ups. I was doing one session of pull-ups a week with granted 10 sets, but it was incredible to see the progress that could be made by cooling your palms between sets of resistance exercises. And we stayed in contact as he continued to refine his prototype. And so in 2022, he came up with a portable version, which we now call the originals or the OGs. And we started selling that in January 2023. Like, this was a passion project for him. When I saw the originals, I was like, you got to sell this. Like, this is so great. Like, people are out there looking for a palm cooling device. And at the time, there really wasn't anything on the market. There were a couple of things coming. Some of them were like wait list only. You had to be an elite athlete. It was not easy to get your hands on a device. So we went to market with this hand built prototype, which was made out of literally a Japanese soup container, a really great high quality one that we modified on aerial laser cutter. It took us about 15 hours to build a set, and that's what was being sold. That's what people were buying. That's what NHL teams were scooping up. And that's when we realized there was sort of a there. So we ended up going out to raise a little bit of money to redesign the product for manufacturing so that we could scale. And that took basically a year and a half from the moment we were like, okay, let's do this. Let's raise the money. Let's find an industrial design firm. Shout out to Hatch Duo, a really cool industrial design firm we work with, based out of the Bay Area. So we found them, started working on the project, redesigned the product. Then you have to go find your manufacturing partners. That's a whole ordeal, which you should absolutely talk to Ariel about sometime. And then like getting all the products. And so we did not launch what we call the next gen narwhals, or the product we sell today, until January 2025. Basically, 10 months ago. So even though we've been at this for several years, this year felt like the first year of the business. And so it's been a really interesting year of like getting the product out there. I keep looking over here. Maybe we should show
Please,
what
yes,
this
dear.
looks like.
Yeah.
I will. So
So
these are
so
what
people are in the know, because you might see this around and you might ask yourself, what is this? And now you can tell all your friends.
yeah.
Amazing.
These are the narwhals. They come in a set of two, so you can cool both hands. And they're really easy to set up. You just drop this cool, not cold pack in here that you freeze, add a little bit of water, and screw on the handle. And you've got 2 to 3 hours of cooling, long enough for games and practices. Little insulating cap if you
Beautiful.
need it for travel.
And you can see the amazing design work by Hatch Duo, which you just mentioned. Yeah, beautiful.
Yes. There's so many cool things that Hatch Duo helped us do from a design perspective. And, it's a tricky product in terms of what we're trying to do. There's a lot going on here in terms of thermodynamics. I guess not
Right.
thermodynamics, but well, I don't know. Ask Ariel. But there's a lot of this looks simple, but it's not. And there's a lot that goes into how do we create the right conditions for palm cooling. We didn't talk about that, but you got to hold something cool, not cold. 50 to 60 degrees Fahrenheit, 10 to 15 degrees Celsius is that sweet spot. And that's a really hard thing to achieve, to keep something at that temperature. So that was key. And then one of the things that I think is really exciting is like two design considerations that are interesting. One is that we wanted a sleeve for these that could be customizable. because a lot of teams like to customize things with their logo. And so we didn't want our logo integrated into this. We wanted it to be an option. So it could be our logo, it could be your team logo. And that was a really hard challenge to figure out. How do we make that happen? What are we going to use? What types of materials? What types of adhesives? How are we going to print on that? This part was one of the last things we figured out. I'm not even kidding, like 2 days before we shipped out our first pre-orders. Like it was down to the wire. It was one of the trickiest things, and a lot of stress went into figuring that out. But it works and it's awesome, and now we can customize for teams. The other thing that I wanted to point out is just the sleeve and this pattern is really cool. And this sort of connects the work that Hatch Duo did to the work that you did on our logo, right? So you designed our
Yes.
logo. And the first pattern for this looked more like the knurl pattern on a barbell. So if you look at a barbell, there's kind of a pattern in the metal that you kind of grip on. And, we were trying to make something that was like rugged, looks like it fits in a gym. And when we brought that design to the manufacturer, they were like, we can't injection
It wouldn't
mold
come out of the
this.
mold, right? Yeah, right,
Yeah,
right.
they're like, this is not going to work. And that's a lot, there's a lot of moments like that, learning moments when you're like, the other thing too is that there's this notion of parting lines. So when you have a plastic injection mold, the mold has to like come together and move apart, right? And so there's going to be a line where that exists. And the first iteration of this sleeve did not take that into account in a way where it was going to look purposeful. So we
Mm.
went back to Hatch Duo and worked on that a little bit more. And they came up with this really cool pattern that was not only moldable and could actually make a high quality product out of it, but just like everything was like integrated, and it's basically this component of our logo that is the pattern, and it elevated the whole design and took it to another level that we were already excited about it, and then it just was like next level. So I think that's a learning of just how these small details have such a huge impact,
Yes.
and I'm so glad that we spent the time to get it right. Again, like so many people had to come together. What it was Hatch Duo and Ariel, like thinking this through, and also our injection molder, who is here in Colorado in us molding, like they worked with us so closely to make this happen, and it was not an easy part. And we were a young company, like they didn't have to do that, but they did. So there's a little design story for you about the
Yes.
base.
Yeah, good story. And it perfectly is a perfect segue into my next question, which is that you always valued design since the first time. I know we met because you really cared about doing a job with the rebranding of the startup that you were working with at the time as CMO. And yeah, this is something that I know you for. You really value good design, and that's the reason why we started working early on, when the product was still in prototype phase. You and Ariel reached out because you wanted to start building a solid brand platform from the beginning.
Mhm.
And then all the care that you poured into designing the product with Hatch Duo. So today, what would you say design has done for Apex Cool Labs so far? Like, how has design contributed to whatever you are in this moment with your company?
Yes. I think the number one thing that design has contributed to Apex Cool Labs is that it has made this little company of basically two people look like an established, forced to be reckoned with business. We have people who contact us, who call in, who message in on Instagram or chat with us on the website, and they say, can I please speak to a representative from sales or wherever? Or we'll have people who call us, some companies who are looking at the narwhals and want to use them, and they'll be like, can you send a rep out to demo to us or to present to our safety team or our athletic team? And it's always funny when we have to tell them, we're actually just two people. So it's a little hard for us to, jump on a plane all the time and bounce around. It's just wild to see what people like, how they perceive us. And I think they're often surprised when they realize that they're just two full-time people behind this. We now, obviously we work with you. We have a friend of ours helping us on build side and the production aspects a little bit now. So like we are definitely becoming more than two people, but just barely. And that is because of design. That is because of the way we present ourselves to the world. And we look so polished. We look so like it exudes confidence. It exudes a sense of credibility because we just look put together. I guess that's my non-design technical speak for what it does for you. I think The other thing that's really cool is that people want to rep our brand. People want our merch, and people are annoyed that we don't have merch on our site, and they want to buy our hoodies. And it's like, okay, we're gonna get there, we're gonna get there. But that's pretty cool, given that we've only been around for 3-ish, 2.5 years, and we're this small team, and people want to rep our brand. That means something. That means something so powerful that you can't really put a price on that, and you can't like you're not going to get there if you're not thinking about design either.
I'm just sorry, I can't comment on this because I'm the designer, so I just have to say yes, I see that.
You should comment on
Yeah.
it. I
No,
mean,
no, I can't. I can't. I'm biased, so I can't say.
yeah, but like, I mean,
But
yeah, I mean, you have
yes,
created our
but
brand identity. That's another thing that's
I'm. T-
interesting. Let's talk about that for a little bit. Like you said,
let's
we brought you in early. We
right.
brought you in when we were a hand-built prototype, and when we thought that, at the time we were like, okay, this is going to be for people like us, people like Ariel and I,
Mm,
who want to push themselves in the gym. And, because that is a great use case for palm cooling. It turns out that that is not the most like, that's not what most people want to do with palm cooling. What most people want to do is improve athletic performance or reduce heat stress in an occupational setting. So
right.
those use cases we learned really early on. Okay, that's where the market is saying, like, hey, we're interested. It wasn't people saying, I want to do more pull-ups. And so when we first started and we came up with the brand identity, that was the persona we had in mind.
Mm,
And I wouldn't say that the design necessarily, like, it was more our voice that had to change than the design per se, but we've gone already through a couple iterations, tweaking the brand identity and bringing in maybe a little bit more edginess versus, or like science, like not great terminology here, but like sciency sort of technical vibe versus
yes.
this like welcoming gym brand. And it's not that we don't want to be welcoming. We're still very welcoming. We still love educating people and like talking about palm cooling, and we love
Right.
that. But it's definitely shifted a little bit, and we find ourselves talking a lot more about performance.
Yes, yes, yes. And there's that element of toughness and ruggedness that we kind of accentuated when we refined the brand after these findings. Yeah, that was
Yes, exactly. Yeah, because that changed too. Like it wasn't we started to see, okay, like the people who are really into this are usually very large individuals who have a lot of muscle mass, who are working, who are like obviously like pro athletes in men and women, and or firefighters or people working on oil and gas rigs, but like very rugged kind of vibe. And
right.
it was important that not only the product, but also the brand makes them feel welcome without, something that was important to Ariel and I, without being exclusive.
Yes. And it looks like we've achieved that because people are loving the product and the brand look and feel. The merch is sold before we even put it out. We can think about new merch fast enough. So
Yeah.
great. Okay.
Yeah, that's good.
Um, all right. Tell me now. I know, of course, because I'm the designer on the team and we have a special agreement. Please talk
Mm,
openly about it as much as you feel comfortable. Because my next question would be, how much are you investing in design each year and how do you budget for it?
yeah. So we are, we raised a little bit of money through a pre-seed round, predominantly angel investors, a lot of people from our backgrounds, like, people we worked with in the past. We worked, athletic, some athletes, some professional athletes. The Oregon Sports Angels are investors. So we did raise a nice pre-seed round, but that was really all about getting the new product out the door. And there wasn't a lot of extra cash for hiring folks. And so I reached out to you and I said, like, we can't afford to pay we can't afford to pay your rate. And so let's talk about options. Like, are you open to a reduced rate? Are you open to equity in exchange, and or a combination? And you were very, very open to an equity agreement, which really just is such a relief because giving, like, it's easy to give away equity, but it's also kind of dangerous too, right? Like, you don't want to be giving away equity as an owner of a company to people that you don't necessarily trust or, like, believe in or have a good relationship with, because yeah, you're giving away a piece of your creation.
Maybe.
And
Yes.
yeah. So, but with you, we had worked together for 5 or 6 years at that
Yeah.
point at Tracker. We knew each other very well. You knew how I worked. You knew that I wasn't going to be a horrible client. I'm sure there's stories out there, but like you knew, I don't know, like you knew how I worked and I knew how you worked. And so I felt very comfortable offering that. And you were very excited, I think, to
100%.
to join in this capacity. And so, what we did was we took your hourly rate, we sort of estimated how many hours a month you might work on this and came up with an amount of equity that corresponded to that value over 3 years. And that was, and in terms of like budgeting, I have enough experience where I can kind of think like, oh, okay, well, maybe once or twice a year, we're going to do a few big website projects. We're always going to have these campaigns going. There's going to be social kind of things or whatever. Like, so you just kind of map out how many hours roughly. Obviously, it was a back and forth conversation, and then we got to this place. And so we just gave you basically like an employee stock option agreement, and similar to that. And then it vests over three years every month. So every month you've earned that equity. And when those 3 years are up, we will cross that bridge and hopefully we are in a position where we can uh,
Yes.
begin compensating you in cash as well.
Well, it was very easy for me to say yes because, again, we've been working together for a while. And if I remember correctly, it was just a regular engagement for the brand identity design to begin with,
Yeah,
right?
it was. Yeah, that was
Yeah,
just
yeah.
we
So,
hired
yeah.
you.
So I had a,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, you brought me in with a regular engagement, and, we had been working a lot in the past together. I really wanted to be part of this developing success story because it's always a longer road than you imagine, and there are a lot of ups and downs, and never ups and downs, and nothing is always is ever linear. But now one of the memories I cherish the most is the time we spent together doing a little co-working at Darius' place when I came to Colorado to visit. It was very easy for me to say yes to this kind of agreement, and I'm looking forward to, yeah, our success in the future, and
Oh, yeah.
yeah, for
Oh,
this collaboration to go on.
here's another fun design win.
Mhm.
So you helped
Yes.
us design our packaging design,
Mhm. Right.
um, the print on the packaging.
Yeah, that also was a
And
collaboration because you work with a professional packaging firm that created a custom packaging for the product, and I applied our livery to the box.
exactly. And when we first were shipping out our pre-orders, some of our early customers were, again, from this Oregon Sports Angels group. And a lot of them are, they've spent their career at Nike and they've retired and they're
Mhm.
now, among other things, they angel invest in sports related startups. And the number of compliments we got from this group on the packaging is, I mean, it's just wild, and here we are, two people with the support of you, and these great partners, the packaging firm to help design the shape of it and everything, but then the quality of the design on top of it was impressing people who spent their career at Nike, who know what good packaging looks like. And I
Right.
think that's again something that, like, easy to brush over some of these details and just be like, whatever, we'll put it in a box. Our product isn't inexpensive. It's $400 for a set of 2, and we want the unboxing experience to align with
Unless you get them in
the
November, right?
expectations.
Unless you get it right now
Right.
at the end
That's
of November,
$50
right?
$50 off. We're
Yes, right,
having
right.
a November narwhal sales event. I love it. It's
Yes,
yeah, $50 off. So if you're
right.
looking for a gift for yourself or your athlete in your life, great time. But yeah, and it had to have this like balance of really like it needed to feel, I guess, pro enough to align with a $400 product, but also we're not an Apple computer, right? Like it's not supposed to look sleek either. And I think we found the right balance of like ruggedness, simplicity, but just also great design all around to impress people.
Yes, yes. Yeah, the design is really beautiful because it's simplicity that hides the complexity of the product. And everything is designed like the experience of use. It's just so frictionless. Like it's really, really an amazing job. And you did this product designers and made it an amazing product. One last question for you. So how do you see the role of design changing in your organization in the foreseeable future with all the technological advancement, AI? Has that had any impact on your work, on your workflow, whether it's creative or operational? And do you see the role of design and creative change in the future for your organization?
There are certainly moments when AI has made something possible that in the past would never have been possible. For example, generating an image of somebody doing exactly what you need them to do to illustrate a point. So one of the topics we're always harping on about here at Apex School Labs is to understand that neck cooling, like the cold towel around your neck, is not effective at removing heat from your body. It feels good, but it doesn't help you extend your time to exhaustion. So if you're an athlete, you really want to be palm cooling. Put a towel around your neck if that's going to make you feel better, and that perception is important, sure, but do something to also improve your performance that will have a measurable impact on your ability to sustain energy. And so, you're trying to illustrate these points, and there's not stock photography that fits. So you can go and you can generate that. And it's not bad. I mean, it actually takes a lot of time. So this idea that AI is going to save you time, there are moments where that can maybe be the case, and editing, video, things like that. There are certainly workflows that are faster, but it's more like this. It's this new tool, and so then you have to, as a business owner, from my perspective, balance: is it worth my time to do this? Not that my time is more precious than anybody else's, but like there are certain things that
Probably
I can
better
do that.
spent on other activities, right?
Right. So like I am better. It makes more sense for me to spend my time focused on getting the word out or talking to prospects about the device and answering questions versus messing with AI to edit a video just because I can now. And so I think that's the balance, is like understanding what is worth investing your time in to get a system in place that is going to help you scale a process or reduce time, and what is just like this shiny object that maybe you should just leave to the expert, right? Like let your video editor use these great tools. Great, they can do things a little bit faster. Awesome. Yeah, I think I'm definitely not at the cutting edge of it, so I wouldn't want to say that that's like, but that's how I have experienced AI so far.
And outside of AI, how do you see the design function in your company working in the future? Like, what's your uh, ideal plan? Will you have an
Yeah.
internal design team? Will you keep working with a contractor like you're doing right now?
I think there's a lot of value in working with contractors because not everybody has all the expertise. So if you're trying to bring in a designer in house, but they're like really good at print, but they're not good at digital, they're good at social, but they're not good at digital or whatever it might be. Like you need to like piece together these teams that are gonna get the job done. And I think, at least at our stage, for the foreseeable future, working with external consultants. But it makes sense. But we try to like bring them in. We try to make sure that they have enough context. We try to be really clear about like what we can and can't do or can't afford, and just really set expectations clearly up front with people. And, but yeah, I think for a long time, that's probably going to be our approach.
Well, it looks like small teams are the future anyway. Big teams are shrinking. So that's an interesting something. Yeah, I was curious to ask you because there's definitely a trend in the world for teams to be shrinking. It doesn't matter how big the organizations the teams belong to. Teams are generally shrinking. Well, that was all I had for you. Thank you so
Okay.
much for being so open and for sharing all these insights and interesting stories and anecdotes. Anything else you'd like to add before we say goodbye?
No, yes, it is really, really an amazing gift to find a designer who gets you and who you get and who you can work closely together and you can challenge each other. And, you can come to me with a design concept that I hadn't considered, or I can go to you and say, like, we got to make this pop more. And you'll like put up with my, like, we got to make this pop more. But like, I think we've talked enough about it to like understand, like, this is, here's what I'm trying to say, and I don't have the vocabulary that you do to talk about these things, but you work with me on that. And I think that relationship where we kind of each understand each other's sides. And I know what annoys a designer. I think I know most of it, maybe not all, but I know a lot. And I try to respect that. Like you have a craft and your craft is so valuable and I'll never have that. Like in order for me to become a designer, I mean, I'd have to stop everything I'm doing. Like, and I don't even know, I don't think that's a very good idea, right? Like, I don't think I'm naturally suited to this. Like, I don't have a draw to it, but I respect it. And so I think that when you find a designer that you really jive with and can collaborate with, it's a gift.
Beautifully said. Beautifully said. Well, let's close on this high note. And thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for being such an amazing collaborator. And I'm looking forward to all the great things we're going to do together in the future.
It's good.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye. Have a
Bye.
good one.